Good people, we back at it. Another episode of What's Up Word with LJ Mental Podcast. As always, I'm your host with the most, LJ. Appreciate you for joining me for another week. Another week up in here. Another week of the podcast. So, I think it's very important to acknowledge it's Black History Month. Um, as a black man, being a black man myself, I've always recognized Black History Month. I think it's incredibly important. There's so many aspects of black people what we contributed throughout not only the U.S. but what's been used around the world. Um, so many different ways. Um, we know about the major icons of from the Malcolm X to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to Frederick Douglass, Thurgood Marshall, to name a few, Madam C.J. Walker, among many others. So more recently, some big time names and contributions to even modern times. We have people now in the hip hop community to Killer Mikes of the world, and then obviously we have a black vice president, woman vice president, Kamala Harris. So many great contributions throughout the world that hasn't been, I don't think we've been fully recognized. So this month, since it being Black History Month, I'm going to take every week and talk about a different aspect, I think in a different way that hasn't been addressed, I think, the way it could have, at least not as much from what I've seen. And I'm going to take my word of the week is going to be dedicated to black people throughout history, through history and modern times. Our contributions, because we need to be recognized, I think is important to go forward and bring us closer together. I think as a whole, especially throughout the U.S., but in the world, our contributions on recognize how great black people are to the society and how we just as good as everybody else, and how talented and great we are. That we the shit for real, and people need to recognize. But before I get into my word of the week, I just want to take this time to talk about this particular movie. I think it's appropriate. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. I'm talking about the movie One Night in Miami. It's produced by legendary black woman by the name of Regina King. She directed the movie. It's great. I watched it earlier this week. A friend of mine told me about it. But yeah, it's a really, really great movie. I think it's totally fitting for this time now, and it's based off of true events. Like it's very interesting. I'm not gonna give it away, but I'm gonna talk about it here. Based off a night spent in Miami by four very legendary figures throughout Black history. Back in over 50 years ago in the 60s. It's based off in 1964. And those four legendary figures are Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, legendary soul singer Sam Cooke, and the one and only Malcolm X. All of these four guys spent time in Miami. I don't think I knew about this. I knew that Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X were acquainted. I wasn't sure how close their friendship was, but if it's based off true events, they were actually pretty close. I knew they were affiliated, they've been on camera together. I knew that. I watched a lot of video of Muhammad Ali and his social activism, and of course I've seen a lot of speeches from Malcolm X and seen them speak together. But I didn't know that they were close like that. This movie I think highlights all four of these guys and their contributions, and it brings up a really great discussion. I think an important discussion about where black people stand especially during that time period, the '60s, where there was a lot of segregation going on. This is at the forefront of the. I think it was the, or at least the close to being. It was around the Jim Crow segregation laws, and KKK was running around, and it was only whites allowed in certain areas, the more obscure areas where they had public restrooms, really clean bathrooms, and black people had to use a dirty ass outhouse or just go wherever, and the whites only had and it's just a way to show racism. And what I'm thinking, like I said, I'm not gonna give this movie away, but there's just certain racial undertones and white people just calling black people nigga just so casually, like that shit is crazy. Like when I'm thinking, looking at them, I'm like, I wonder, is this a part in there where there's a white man, he's talking, he's like, you okay with being like friends, seem like cool with black people, like, and calling out other races or whatever, but yeah, he goes and calls him a nigga, like, and it's in a derogatory way. It's not like even he's calling him a friend. It's just the way he said it. It was crazy. Like, how can you have a whole conversation praising this man, and then say, you like, oh no, niggas call him with the hard ER too. I don't. So it just goes to show you. Like, I was just wondering, is that just something they were just going along with the times? Like, they just didn't look at it like, I mean, obviously there were some people that said, okay, white folks that said this isn't right, we need to do something about it. But I wonder for the majority of them, like, were they just okay with with this horrible rhetoric? Like, thinking black people are beneath them and less than them and 3/5 of a human being, that they just okay with that? Like, and that's in majority of their heritage. How much is that even passed down? I think more white folks are coming around. We still have some races today. I mean, that's obvious, but it's just crazy. During that time period, obviously this nation was built off racism and slavery, and we all know that. But yeah, this movie One Night in Miami is pretty great. I would definitely recommend it. You can watch it on Prime. If you got a Prime Video, it comes with it. You don't gotta pay no extra for it. I think if you already have Prime, definitely go check it out. I'm not sure if you can get anywhere else, but I watched it on Prime. It's really good, and it's centers around the night in Miami. It was the night too where Muhammad Ali beat Sonny Liston for the world title, heavyweight title, boxing. So yeah, it explores that night between them figures coming together and what was surrounded by them that night. Very great, interesting movie. And gave me a little more, even though I had some information on all four gentlemen. I didn't know they were all friends together, though. That I didn't know. I definitely knew that Jim Brown obviously also was acquainted with Malcolm X and Muhammad Ali. I didn't know that they were all connected to Sam Cooke as well, though. Me being a guy born in the late '80s, influenced by my environment and music. I've always I'm very diverse when it comes to music. I like some new school. I also like music that's older than me too. Like, I'll go from listening to a Kendrick record to listening to a Pac record. Or I'll listen to Barry White or Bone Thugs from a young age, or Billie Holiday or Sam Cooke. Like, I've always been like that. So I got a new soul and an old soul. So I don't like to be put in a box. I like the variety mix. You gotta mix it up. You gotta have balance, I feel like. But yeah, I think it's a really great movie. You should check it out, and I think it'll give you some really interesting insight on all four of these legendary black figures. So yeah, go check it out. So now, I want to address. So my word of the week is technology. I want to explore because I think out of all the aspects of what black people have contributed, we obviously know we talk about activism and black rights, civil rights, because we didn't have any rights for a long time in the United States. Um, and even after slavery and even after the post Jim Crow era, there's still a lot of like racial undertones and trying to keep black people from prospering, whether that's being approved to get a house, whether that's to be approved and get into a nicer neighborhood. Maybe you can't get that car you wanted from. It still goes on to this day. Um, there's a lot of still racial undertones to try and keep black people out. But I wanted to focus this week on technology. I'm gonna use this whole month to highlight different areas about black people, but I don't feel like technology is talked about enough and what black people have contributed to it. It's not spoken about nowhere near enough. And technology is basically a lot of damn everybody's lives now. You got social media, you got your smartphones, laptops, technology is your whole world. And television, we've come a long way from TV to the beginning, but people don't know the contributions that black people have had to it from the very basics of it. I know you give credit to guys throughout history like the white guys, Thomas Edison, Benjamin Franklin. It's even more modern times to your Bill Gates, your Steve Jobs, and Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos. Obviously, those guys have done some great contributions. They've created some things that's most likely going to outlive them. They're huge contributions to society, and even entertainment. But yeah, I want to highlight some of the black people that have contributed to technology. Let's start with Garrett Morgan, right? I'm sure some people know. The black man actually invented the stoplight. You know that the white man, Thomas Edison, they say invented the light bulb. Garrett Morgan invented the stoplight. And I feel like it's important to know, like coming up as a kid, there's a lot of untold stories. They don't teach you this. I'm not sure how the schools are now. But when I was coming up, they don't teach you anything about the real history, especially black history in this country. Like, they didn't teach you that in social studies or history class. None of that shit was in them books. And when it comes to taking them tests coming up, basically you had to tell a lie. And one of those lies that obviously Christopher Columbus discovered America, the biggest lie probably in the history of this country. But yeah, I think it's important to know. And another man that I want to talk about is Jerry Lawson. This man, you know, Jerry Lawson is a black man. Rest in peace, Jerry Lawson. I believe he died in 2011, I want to say. But he basically, a lot of people out there are gamers or whatever, big time in the video games. This man actually changed the game basically. He invented a console called Fair. It's like right before the Atari came out, but that's basically, it was inspired by his console. What Jerry Lawson created. The Fairchild Channel F. That's his console that he created. It was an early model, I believe it was in the 70s that came out. And he actually, he was actually a guy that throughout his hard work being a black electrical engineer and technology, and he brought in, he interviewed Steve Jobs to get a job actually. A lot of people probably don't know that. This black man, he actually had a conversation and interviewed Steve Jobs. I don't think he actually gave him the job. And I think at the time he said he wasn't impressed with him at the time. But it was clear that Jerry Lawson was the head of the game. And he basically changed the game of the video game industry. A lot of the consoles was inspired by what he did. The Atari came, the Sega Genesis came, the Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo. They had the cartridges. He really was the one that pioneered that whole industry with the cartridges. And then obviously consoles got more advanced to CDs, to not even needing CDs now. Obviously, everything is downloadable. But he basically started that whole basically industry. He basically started. He was the first one ever to have a first game cartridge. So with Bill Gates coming with the Xbox and these other guys who gets credit, I think Jerry Lawson is a major part of that, and is not spoken about very as much as he should be. And I think just highlighting this is important too, because when you see, and I see a lot of these showcasings, right, of whether it's E3 or Comic Con, the Tokyo Game Shows, these video game showcases. And I always wondered, like a lot of these people, like most of them are white people that are showcasing these games. And even in the interviews, a lot of them are white guys or white women. And some other ethnicities, but I always wonder, like, are black people that work at these companies? I've always wondered that. I'm not sure if that question has been brought up or asked. It's starting to change in a lot of industries, but I still think in technology there's a huge disconnect between black people being involved in technology. But I think we just need to get the respect we deserve. And when it comes to technology and creations, and Jerry Lawson is a big part of that. There wouldn't be, he was before Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. Jerry Lawson is right up there with them. So I know those white guys are the ones that get the most credit and are I'm talking about in the highest light and regard, but Jerry Lawson is right there with them. Rest in peace to him as well. A few more people I want to talk about. For one, I want to talk about a black woman. I want to talk about a few black women actually. One in particular, Janet Emerson Bashan, I think, how you say her name? She is someone who created some software programming to for equal opportunity employees. So obviously for a long time there was a disconnect in how black people even get good jobs. Because even, like I said, there's still a lot of racial undertones and keeping black people out, better opportunities, better living conditions, better housing, all of that. But this is a great step that Miss Janet Bashan took. She changed the game as well. What she did as far as creating her software program to help other individuals, especially black people, find better opportunities in the job market and different areas. And this is the stuff that's not talked about out there. All these white folks getting credit for stuff that black people did. I'm gonna get into that and sometime in music as well later this month. Not saying there aren't good white people, because there are. There's definitely some good white people out there that doesn't do that. But we have to be real about it. White folks have taken credit for what black people have did throughout history of this country. That's a fact. That is not an opinion. That is an absolute fact. But yeah, I want to also talk about speaking of job opportunities. I want to talk about a woman by the name of Janice Bryant Howard. She is the founder of Apple One. Now this might not completely tie into technology, but I feel like it does. Let's be on this subject. It's an entrepreneur, black woman entrepreneur. And I heard her speak how she turned a $900 loan into $1 billion franchise, basically. There's a lot of Apple One branches out there. If you don't know, it's a employment agency throughout the country. There's a lot of branches throughout the country, and the one at the top, the one who started it, is a black woman, um, and that's amazing to me. She's the one that started, and look at what she's done now. Like all of these different branches throughout the country. This is something that a black woman started and created. So I think that's to be celebrated and highlighted as well. And another black woman I want to talk about is Patricia Bath. This woman is a surgeon, specifically ophthalmologist. I think I said that right. I'm sorry if I butchered that. I believe that's how you say it. But I know what it is for. I just have trouble pronouncing certain words. It's basically the area focused specifically on treatment with the eyes and eye surgery and other areas as well. But I know she's another thing too. But one major important thing she has done was she invented eye laser surgery for people who have cataracts, people who have issues with their eyes, might have issues with blindness, maybe irritated eyes, whatever the case may be with eyes. She saw something, wanted to do something about that, and she was intelligent enough to come up with the process of how to start laser eye surgery. That's all these. When I heard you hear the term of somebody needing laser eye surgery, some think of Patricia Bath. You know somebody that need that laser eye surgery, for whatever reason. Well, you can thank Patricia Bath for that because she is the one that invented it. So that's all there. No matter what race you are, everybody, I've heard of definitely people needing eye laser surgery. No matter what race you are, just know that a black woman is the one that invented that, so that you're able to get that done. So, there's so many others in technology, but I wanted to highlight a few. I wanted to talk about some that were maybe before my time. I wanted to talk about some that were in modern times as well, because technology is a big part of our lives, and there's a lot that people I think don't know about the black people that have contributed to that technology. And the last person I'm gonna mention is a man, still pretty young actually, but very, very intelligent. Based out of Florida. Started his own 4G network. Has his own phones, has his own brand, has his own phone company. Also has televisions, other electronics as well, speakers. But I know specifically he's pushed his cell phone, and I'm talking about Freddie Figures. This is a black man, inventor, entrepreneur that is doing his thing right now, and he started his own company called Figures Communications. You can go look it up. You can Google all these people too. All these names I listed. No matter what race you are, you need to know about these people, and. But Freddie Figures, he started his own 4G network, 4G Lite network. Has his own phones, and then you can look at his website. He has TVs as well. He has speakers. He has a lot of great electronics, a lot of high quality electronics. I'm thinking about switching to him soon. Got. But yeah, it's he's contributed a lot to society. It is real, and I thought it was amazing when I first heard about it. I'm like, wow, this man has his own 4G network, and it just goes to show you that us as black folks, we are amazing too. There's another word I said too. That's what the whole Black Lives Matter movement. Forget the actual movement. And I think some white folks just don't understand they refuse to acknowledge is when they say Black Lives Matter, it's implied we mean too. We also matter. That's the whole point. Black Lives Matter too. That's what's implied. Black Lives Matter too. So there's no need to say all lives matter. We already know that. Um, and it goes to show in technology too, and all these technology companies, these game companies, these big time engineers at the top, and not whether it's Google. I think that's starting to change now because there's actually a black man that works for Google now that I think it was Anthony Mays, and there's a great story about him, come black man from Compton, ended up working for Google, and he's a big time engineer. So that's a great story as well. So it is starting to change, but the majority of the folks, black people, especially black folks from the hood, um, they don't look at us as being able to get opportunity like that. I had a conversation with this white dude that worked for Snapchat. He said how he liked it there, and I'm like, when I asked him, I was just curious, are there any black people that work there? He said no. He was trying to emphasize on including women. I'm like, that's cool too. I think women, but I'm like, no. I'm talking about, are there any black people there? I mean, I know women. There's still some discriminative issues with women, and they're fighting for equal pay. I know there's an issue, and that's why I wanted to talk about these black women as well. Because at the end of the day, I think black women are smarter than everybody. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean. For real, like I just think they are. But I was talking about specifically black people, and all he just kept harping on was like, oh yeah, we have this training program trying to get women. I'm like, no, what are you doing for black people? And he said, no, we're trying to work on that, but he never really had a clear answer. And it's just something that's been on my mind, like we talking about inclusion, whatever. But I mean, I think it's important with technology because this is really a part of all of our lives now, and what black people have contributed and can, if we get the opportunity, what we can do to help contribute, I think will be better for everybody. It can be a more prosperous society, and be better economically for the world. Really, I think you include us as well, and but yeah. We need to change the game, and I just wanted to take this time to highlight the great contributions that black people have contributed. And it's a myth that that only these white guys listed at the top are all the inventors and all of that. That's just, and I just don't. Well, I do understand why that the black folks are not highlighted the way that these white folks at the top are, and they should be, and. Just going forward, it seemed like things are changing, but do your Googles on these people. Freddie Figures, on Janet Bashen, Bashen. Do your Googles on Jerry Lawson. Do your Googles on all these people, because it's important to know who they are. Yeah. I'm gonna be focusing on different aspects of Black history throughout the month, so be tuned for that. Maybe you'll learn something. So yeah, I'm about to get up out of here. So yeah, appreciate you for listening. This has been another episode of What's the Word with LJ Mentor Podcast. I'm out.